just compared to all the other legal investigations that the former president is facing, I mean, how does this one stack up?
This one is probably the least threatening in terms of the jail time. It's also a little bit challenging because it's older. And Cohen, as a cooperating witness, could have some baggage. I mean, I don't think it's so much baggage that he wouldn't be effective as a witness. I think he will be. But it would have been low on the radar screen. The Georgia one is much more developed, and obviously the January 6th and Mar-a-Lago classified documents cases are massive, sprawling investigations with very serious consequences.
Everybody in the political world is talking about the potential charges and arrest of Donald Trump. But CNN, he's a former federal prosecutor. Shan Wu appeared on CNN and he was pouring some cold water all over it. And I kind of agree. Let's find out why.
Most likely, they're going to start with this falsifying of business records for booking this as a legal retainer fee or something when it was really meant for Stormy Daniels and related to the campaign. That all by itself, just falsifying, is a misdemeanor under the New York laws. But if they can tie it to concealing another felony, either a New York State election law crime or perhaps trying to piggyback it onto the federal campaign violation, that bumps up the falsifying to a felony charge.
Just a simple misdemeanor, but it could be connected to other things, then it bumps up. But there's so many different things that you could go after this guy for that we've seen so much evidence of, which actually is still being investigated. But that's not the only reason why I'm a little bit pessimistic on this entire thing. One of his attorneys, Trump's attorneys, also appeared on CNN and was asked a pretty damn direct question. Because as we know, the whole story about whether or not he's gonna get arrested come Tuesday came from Donald Trump. This is what she had to say. Alina Habba was on CNN and it was asked directly. See if you can find an answer.
Yesterday, the former president's social media post. In one post, he said he expects to be arrested. Now, his spokesman then came out and said they haven't been informed of any arrest date. Our reporting suggests that is true. So why is your client going out and saying he's going to be arrested on Tuesday?
I think it's a very important thing that he does that, quite honestly. We've got Hunter Biden, who we've seen has ties to China. We've got his dead brother's wife, who's now, we've heard this week, has been funneling money from China as well and is on payroll. So what happens is the Democrats now have to pull the wool over our heads, and you've seen memes, I'm sure, that say, okay, arrest Donald Trump, but that's exactly what this is. So my client is getting ahead of it, frankly, and he's smart to do so. I think that when you hear a lot of noise like this, we have to pull the curtains back and say, this is a problem for Democrats. They're losing in the polls. He's ahead. And we've got major crises happening. In New York, we've got people dying. This is what a state DA is doing after a failed federal DA couldn't do it. So I'm glad that he's doing it and getting ahead of it. Let's see if they arrest him.
She said, let's see if they arrest him. From, again, attorney for the guy who said, I will be arrested on Tuesday. Which one is it, bro? He said it, then it's maybe. Okay, Paula Reed, who was on CNN there interviewing her, tried one more time. Let's see if she got something out of her.
Well, he says in his Truth Social post, quote, former president of the United States of America will be arrested on Tuesday of next week. Protest, take our nation back. Is your client speculating about an arrest to incite political violence?
I don't think he's speculating at all. I think that's the reason you're covering it at the top of the hour, right? I mean, we're all hearing it, and we're all hearing leaks from the DA, which is very typical. So to not address something like that would be irresponsible. Somebody is leaking that he is getting arrested. We're hearing about meetings. We're hearing about people going into the grand jury with information. We actually heard a lie about somebody saying they went into the grand jury and they didn't. How can he not address it? He's a key political figure, if not the political figure. So I think it's not speculation. It's something that we're hearing, and I'm glad he's addressing it, because if it is true, he needs to get ahead of it.
We're not speculating about what's going on. We're just going off of what we made up and we're hearing now. There's leaks apparently coming from all over the place, says the folks who are then saying he will be arrested on Tuesday. Dara Faye, which I mentioned a lot of times on this show because I love her feed. She was reading my damn mind because she tweeted, since when do we trust anything Trump says? I can't help but to agree, especially when this is what he said. Before I let you in here, let's read what he wrote on Truth Social, Burbank. Really what we care about is the back end of this all caps rant that he went on. It's part 2 of a second page of his rant. He's complaining about the deep state and Biden and all that stuff. But let's get to the real back end, where he says the far and away leading Republican candidate, being himself, and former president of the United States of America, will be arrested on Tuesday of next week. Protest, take our nation back, which I think leads to even more to the kind of energy and vitriol he's pushing his foot soldiers to go towards. Tell me, I'm perfectly open and humble enough to be wrong about this, Burbank, but I don't see it happening tomorrow.
I have no idea what's going on in the Trump camp, but it seems their approach to public relations and media and putting out their message is the best defense is a good offense. They're saying, people are talking about me being arrested Tuesday because you said you were gonna be arrested Tuesday. That's why we're talking about it at the top of the hour on CNN. You said it. It's not, we're hearing a lot of stuff. You started it, and now you're hearing it from other people. So it's just completely backwards. He's admitted guilt to the Stormy Daniels situation. He said, this is extortion. They're trying to get hush money from me so she doesn't talk about it. And then he ends up giving her a sum of money. Like, he has admitted guilt already. And the attorneys are pretty clear that they think that's exactly what happened when he was talking about Stormy Daniels so much in interviews and in the press. So for someone who's admitted guilt for this so long ago, it does make it look weird politically, right? Because this isn't something that happened recently. They're getting an arrest on Donald Trump for it now. So supposedly, if he is arrested, it is gonna kind of seem weird politically when he hasn't been arrested for what's going on in Georgia. We know that we have the grand jury situation happening in Fulton County. There's a lot of other things that Trump should be prosecuted on, I think, first, before we get him on something like this, because it's gonna make it seem to people who aren't paying attention to politics closely that they're doing this to kind of silence him while he's trying to run again.
That's one of the whole ideas here, right? There's also the whole thing about ramping up his supporters as he goes to more events, because maybe he's concerned about that happening as the vote and support potentially gets split. There's evidence to that as well. But one more thing about when he truthed that out, but the New York Times pointed this glaring problem out with his declaration. 2 hours later, a spokesman issued a statement saying that Trump had not written his post with direct knowledge of the timing of any arrest. And he added, President Trump is rightfully highlighting his innocence in the weaponization of our injustice system. Makes a lot of sense. And as you saw the weaponization line, because there's folks headed by Jim Jordan and the Republicans in the House that have been pushing this weaponization of the government hearings, I think 2 times now. That's another part about this. To ramp up some more support, because he knows all he needs is a little bit of "here comes the government for your favorite president" type of lines to get his supporters back on board, hopefully. And also, as he also promoted the next few steps he's doing, the next couple rallies that he's pushing, it's a direct, hey, pay attention to me. Now let me sell you some merch and a couple of tickets, and maybe show up and listen to me rant with the same stump page I've been pushing for 6 years now. It's over and over and over again. But he did have this one last post, not last, of course not, but in tripling down on the whole thing. Let's look at this also from Truth Social. Again, in all caps. He's talking about how it's time. We're a nation in steep decline, being led into World War III. So there's violent rhetoric there. But on the back end, he says they're killing our nation as we sit back and watch. We must save America. Protest, protest, protest. The last time that he told his supporters to protest, we know what happened. They ran up on the Capitol. I'm sorry, it was Antifa and BLM that ran up on the Capitol. The same BLM and Antifa that Trump supporters are trying to get out of prison because they were wrongfully put in prison for being BLM or MAGA or who knows. Who gives a damn? This is the point. Confusion, activity, anger, and violence. Be ready for it, because they're setting up barricades in New York right now, and they're telling Ron DeSantis to make sure he doesn't, he interferes and makes sure that they can't get their president, their wonderful president, Trump.